So let's go ahead and start putting together our first RecyclerView. But keep in mind that as you move forward, as we learn about RecyclerView, that the concepts are still the same as ListView, but with a little bit of differences as we spoke in the earlier presentation. Okay, so we have here our contact manager. It's working still fine, but what we're going to do here is we're going to recreate this entire project. We're still using the database handler project and so forth so that we can see the differences that we'll have with RecyclerView. Okay, so the code for this project, the array adapter and the list view, you should have that because I've saved that and you'll have access to all of that. So I'm going to get rid of most of this stuff so we have a clean slate. Okay, very good. So let's come to main here. I'm going to leave our database intact, but anything else inside here, I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of it. In fact, all I need really to get rid of is this array adapter and that. Let's get rid of that. Very good. The rest can stay as it is. Very good. So in our main here, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get rid of what we have so far. So we have our list view widget. I'm going to just delete that. So now it's empty. And instead, I'm going to come here and say recycle or recycler. There we go, RecyclerView. So you'll notice something very interesting here is that we have this download icon. What this means is that RecyclerView, like CardView, it doesn't really come with our SDK right away when we create a project. We actually have to import that library, that dependency. In fact, if you try to hold and drop it here, you're gonna see this add project dependency. Say okay. Now we have our project dependency that is being added to our build. And everything went well. And of course, you can come down here and see there it is. Let's go ahead and add all those constraints that we like adding. There we go. Very good. And the beauty here is that if we go to our project again and go to Gradle, that module app here, you can see that at the bottom we have added is support RecyclerView and there's a version. So this version may be different depending on when you're watching these videos, but nevertheless, you can see that we have that implementation there. So now we have our RecyclerView. As I said before, RecyclerView on its own is useless. So this is not going to do anything. In fact, if we run the app right now, it's just going to be an empty view, an empty activity, an empty screen, which is not very helpful to us. But the idea here is that with a RecyclerView, we must create the actual view, or in this case, the row that will show on the application. So essentially, at this point here, we're going to be able to customize this row to whatever we want, which will be then added on runtime into our RecyclerView so we can see the data. Now, this customization gives us a lot of power because we can do all sorts of things. We can add different rows, we can add image, we can add more text, whatever we want to do, we can do that. In fact, we're going to make these rows much better by using a card view. Very good. So at this point here, we have to create a different XML that will allow us to customize each of these rows that are going to be implemented or inflated inside of our RecyclerView. Okay, so inside of our layout here, I'm going to say new. I'm going to say the layout resource, and I'm going to call this contact row or cell, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to say okay right away, and you can see here now we have our contact row XML. Let's clear a few things out here so that we have more space. Okay, in fact, let's open the palette because I'm going to need that. So what I'm going to do here, remember this is going to be representing just one single row. So we can design the row that we're going to see once everything is said and done. So, like I said, to make things better here, I'm going to actually add a card view. So I'm going to say card view. There we go. It looks like we will have to also download it. That's no problem. Drag there, say okay. Take a second here for the rebuild to happen. And you can see now we have our card view. So let's create those margins there. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Like that. Okay, very good. So we have our row, which in this case, it's going to be a card view. All right. So inside of our card view, this is where we're going to add the items that we want to see. In this case here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put another layout inside of it so that we can organize all the things that we want to put inside. So I'm going to start with adding a relative layout because I want to make sure that I can put things whatever I want them to be. All right, I'm going to put that inside there. Very good. If you come to design, you can see now we have this relative layout inside of our card view. which is exactly what we want. Okay, so instead of our linear layout here, I'm going to just do of it here actually. Let me just make it so that I close it down there. Very good. So inside here, I'm going to add a few things. So the first thing I'm going to add is indeed a text view. I'm going to say wrap content. Okay, give it an ID because we need that. I'm going to say this ID to be name. Okay, very good. I'm going to add a text right now that says name goes here. Text size, it's going to be about 15 SB, like that. Okay, there we go. So you can see it says that. Okay, so we probably have to extract this. That's totally fine. So next thing we're going to do, I'm going to add another text view below that, which is going to be our phone number. So I'm going to say text again, give it an ID, say phone number. And because I'm inside of a relative layout, I can actually move things around relative to each other. So I can even say, I want this layout to be below what? I can say I want it to be below this ID here, which is name. Look at the beauty of using our relative layout. So I can do the same thing, text, let's say about 14 SB. Very good. And I'm going to give a text right now so we can actually see what's going on. That would say app name. Okay, there we go. Of course, that's going to change, but that's fine. And let's give it a padding, a general padding to our relative layout here. I'm going to give a padding of about 14 SB, 14 DP, I should say. Very good. So very good. And inside, within, I'm going to give a padding 8 DP. Very good. So you can see now it has changed a little bit. Very good. So I like that. It looks very good. Cool. So there we go. One thing you've learned now is that inside of our relative layout, we can actually stack things around or perhaps move things around relative to other items inside of our card view here. Okay. That's the beauty of using relative layout, as the name implies. Very good. So we have those two there. And let's say if we want to add a button or an image to the right here, well, we can do the same thing, right? So I'm going to come down here, still inside of a relative layout. I'm going to say I want an image view. In this case, I can use an image view. I'm going to make it wrap content. So I can say background here, and I'm going to go and get an icon from our Android.drawable card of some sort. There we go. It's going to look something like that. Now we can't see it here. It's kind of like here on top of my go. That's because we're inside again of our relative layout. Everything needs to be directed as to where it's supposed to be. What we can do, we can actually use the align parent right, or I can use the align parent end, which is in fact the property we should be using right now. Okay, so layout align parent end. If you say true, look, now it moved all the way to the right, the icon all the way to the right. Okay, so those are the properties that you can use with relative layout. There's so many of them that you can actually look around and see how to use them. But there we go. They're very easy to understand. They're very easy to remember. So if you want to align to the end, align parent end, which means the parent is what? The parent is going to be our relative layout. So it's saying we want to move the whole thing in this image view to the end of this parent alignment. So to the right. There we go. So at this point here, we're able to put together a very simple customized row that we will be using to then show all of this data that we showed before using list views. Okay, so I'll stop from here. So in the next video, we're going to continue and actually look into the classes, adapters that we're going to be using to inflate or to take this XML and make it an Android object so that then we can actually show the data.